What's good, Relocation Football League fans? It's your boy Smitty, and we are here for the weekly RFL podcast for the college series. We got Pecan, of course, here, the regular now for the college series, and of course, sporting the fitting background picture. How you doing, Pecan?
I'm doing well. It's been a pretty good week. It went from a great weekend to, wow, this weekend really sucked. I'm just kidding, really. Honestly, we got some fun things to talk about. You know, we said this was the year of the rushing quarterback, but it's also the year of the tight end. Upsets galore. Obviously, we're going to talk about all of those, including, you know, my very own. And then the thoughts of who is the new number one team and all that fun stuff. I can't wait to get to it.
Yeah, and as you can see here, the head title, I guess the heading to this podcast, the Buckeyes fall. Who is the number one team? I'm pretty sure a lot of people are anticipating to see who it is. A lot of people are saying it's between two teams. It's either going to be Miami or it's going to be Georgia. We're going to find out, and after we recap these games. So let's go ahead and jump into the first game. First game was a heavy rain game out there at Auburn, as Auburn starts out 0-2 in the SEC. Florida 2-0 right now. A big win over Auburn here, 35-14. Anthony Richardson doing his thing again. Had a second consecutive week with over 100 yards. Got in the end zone again with a touchdown. Did throw 2 interceptions though, no touchdowns, but he was able to keep his team afloat and ultimately walk out with the skunk victory, 21 points. What's your breakdown and analysis of this game here?
Well, Smitty, you and I, we called this game for my very first ever commentary game. Also, to let
let's get hashtag
Thanks, man.
in the chat, man.
Thanks, man.
Calling that game.
And I'll let you guys know that was a very hard game to call. I had some technical difficulties on my side going on there, but I still pulled it out and tried to call it as best as I could. Auburn, you know, they came out swinging. We said that they needed a bounce back because they, you know, who was it that they just played? Oh, yeah, they got beat badly by Tyon and Tennessee in week 1, and we were saying that they need to come out swinging. Very first play on their part, I think it was the first play of the game, like a 75-yard touchdown pass. No, it was a 69-yard touchdown pass to him. Florida, of course, they get the ball back. AR does his thing. And then things were kind of going in Florida's direction a bit. And then Auburn gets a pick. They didn't get the pick six, but got all the way down 2-1. They were able to score on a one-play drive to TJ as well. But then after that, Florida was just in control of the whole entire game. AR, though, I mean, he still had 112 rushing yards, but it felt like Auburn's defense was giving them everything that they could to stay in this game, and they really were until Don Beck threw those 2 crucial pick sixes in the game, and you could just feel the deflation from the Auburn side, you know, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that they're like, we're trying everything that we can, and you know, our offense is not showing up, and we can only score on one-play drives, and credit to them. I mean, it was also a very sloppy game from AR. I think he had 2 fumbles in this game, or
it was a lot of turnovers in general, just due to the weather. And that's one thing we talked about. You know, I was definitely speaking on, because it was a lot of missed passes too going on, and of course that just happens in the rain, especially on this generation Madden. Like when you're in the current gen, I remember back in the day when the RFL used to be on current gen Madden, and it was rain games.
And the rain games,
the worst situation you wanted to be in the RFL, man, and you could see it definitely on full display here. I think this is the first rain game we had of the season. I have to go with the actual in real life weather conditions, and it was raining hard in Auburn, and this mod's got
there was actually a storm.
Yeah, this mod's got some serious rain, and where it looked just as bad. So it was like it was definitely the exact conditions it would have been in if they played that day. And I was definitely not shocked by the amount of turnovers that was going on. But
Yeah, it was 7 on both sides, 7 combined turnovers in that game. And another thing, too, this is the highest that I've seen the whole entire year. Florida had 6 penalties in this game. That's the highest amount that I've seen so far from a team as well. So it was a very sloppy
you
game.
could get, yeah, and that just comes with the territory, even the penalties, because it's slippery out there. Same deal as if anybody's actually played in any high environment games such as this. If you made it to the collegiate level, even playing football, when you're in the rain like this, you're out there in that field, and I've been in some crazy weather conditions before where the rain's coming down so hard you can't even hear what your quarterback's like saying outside the huddle. So
Yeah.
it's like that's probably the type of environment they were in. Dudes jumping off sides. Dudes can't get a grip on their blocks, so they're holding. A
A
lot of
false
things.
start,
Yeah,
all of that. Yeah. So it was just a tough game for the Auburn Tigers and everything. I mean, AR played well, but you could also say that there was many times where it felt like if only that Auburn offense just got it going, what that game could have been like going the other way if Don Beck could have gotten that game going. But
and we were
the one
talking
thing
too a little bit about Don Beck too. Is like he actually started out pretty good. I didn't think he was going to play that good at all in these conditions.
but he collapsed that
Yeah, he did
second half. It was just a collapse, and just like I said, Florida they got the 2 pick sixes. That Auburn interior line is not good at all, and that's going to be something to watch for them the whole entire year. Because as we talked about, Spears is a very north and south runner, and if that interior line cannot get the blocks, that's maybe why they're going to have Dom Beck throw the ball at least 40 times a game. So,
Yeah, 47 passes for him in that one, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, only 11 carries for Mike Spears. Still not utilizing him enough.
no.
We'll have to see, what goes on in the future with that. Maybe next week. Game number 2
But Florida
on
2-0.
Friday. Yeah, 2-0 Florida, 0-2 Auburn. So that's rough. Game number 2 out there at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The Alabama Crimson Tide able to hold on and get the victory over Texas. It was a solid game overall. Texas was able to come off a solid win over Clemson in week 1. They came in here and they put up a good fight against Alabama. But at the end of the day, we saw a very productive game from Logan Goldsberry. There's a lot of pressure on this kid because, we saw last year they were able to go to the national championship, but everyone kept saying the only thing that's mainly holding these guys back from winning a natty is the quarterback play. And if he could be on, with the way his defense has been playing throughout the years, and the type of weapons he's got, this could be definitely one of the most scariest teams. And they kind of put that together in this game here. We saw Darius Cage get in the end zone for a Dwayne Cage, excuse me, get in the end zone for a touchdown twice.
But the main story in this game that we got to talk about, Sean Acosta, man.
Tight end, crazy, 17 receptions, 171 yards. And also for Texas, just to put this out there, they got Bijan Robinson on here, but I forgot there was a generic. So what happened is I replaced Bijan Robinson for next week with that generic. It's supposed to be Jose Amaya, but for whatever reason, the save or edit did not happen. But I was able to go back and where I got the man draft class, and so Jose Amaya will be the starting running back for Texas. And the crazy thing is, take a guess at what his overall is since he came in, Pecan.
Without a doubt, a 98.
99.
I had a feeling. I was going to give him that one just in case if you're like, oh no, he's a 95. But yeah, no, that's when it's Bijan Robinson, man, he definitely deserves that. So
Jose Amaya, generic running backs, 99.
it's going to be a 99.
Absolute dog. But he didn't even get a lot of carries because technically he was Bijan Robinson for this game, and Bijan Robinson went crazy in the backfield here because he had 5 receptions for 88 yards and a touchdown. And that one big play
But do you
that
know
popped
why?
off over the middle where he thought they were going to probably be able to come back when they ran the cornerback strikes. And then they just ran him straight up the middle out the backfield. And then Ewers was able to drop it on the money in stride, and they scored. And that's what made it a 1-possession game. But ultimately couldn't come back for the win.
And I'll tell you main reason why they didn't run. This was a very impressive stat. Alabama, they had the ball for 30 minutes to Texas 17 minutes. and that's how it felt too. It felt like anytime that I was like watching the game, it was like Alabama just has the ball. Galloway, he did impress me, even though he only had 2 catches. I'm really excited to see how that kid does. He's another tight end that's in this league. He's a user player. He had a very impressive showing with only having the 2 catches. Burnt
Two
them.
Defenders ran into each other, and then he just was out.
But yeah, I mean, if we with Alabama, though, I mean, with the whole Logan Goldsberry thing, to me, it almost like he reminds me of a real life Alabama quarterback. If anyone has watched college football, he almost reminds me of like a AJ McCarron type of guy, where he's not going to wow you, but he's going to do just enough to win Alabama the game. And I think you said it during the game where, you know, he wasn't taking any crazy shots. Like, he was just being very efficient with it. 34 for 40, 370 yards. Now 171 yards was from Sean Acosta, but half of his completions are all from Sean. So, and not only that, they're very efficient. 13 for 18 on third down. So Alabama, I still wouldn't write them off if anyone's like, oh, they're not impressive. This is still a great team, and props for Bama for getting their get back game after that upset loss a year ago in Texas. So
yeah, got that back. They lost that game 23-20. Good vengeance game 31-24 for Bama. Now we get into the premier games that happened on Saturday. And here we go. We're going to have these guys, of course, just like last week in a row of 3. What I am planning on doing in the future, it depends on if I have the time, guys. I do want to try to do highlight recaps as we're talking about it as well, because that just looks cool on podcast.
We haven't done that since CS3.
Yeah, so like that's going to be something now I will try to implement. No guarantees though. Because I don't want to run the highlight tape that I posted, because then that has every single play in between, you know. So like,
those are 15 minutes.
Yeah, they're too long. So we definitely don't want to run.
Kind of like a Sports Center type of highlight where it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It's just all the big plays, and that's it.
Like whenever I tried to do that today, and it was like, nah, I'm not gonna be able to get that done. I would have had to push the podcast back, and then guys would have had to get that unfortunately message that they dread so much. But these 1 p.m. games, Washington falling to UCLA, man, 24-23.
I was shocked that I called that. I was like shocked that I actually called that.
Called that. Yeah, Maryland coming back, man. Thought it was over for them. It was trailing as much as 22-7 to West Virginia. West Virginia put up a good fight, but ultimately, you know, sad that they ended up dropping the ball and losing 25-22. And then Florida State losing for 2 consecutive weeks to the same exact scores. This time,
that was another thing I noticed. Yeah,
to 7. Should take down.
I'll speak on the UNC and FSU game really quick because there's not a lot of notes there. FSU, their quarterback Jordan Travis, tough day. 50% completion percentage, 4 picks in that game. But also, guys, it's the year of the tight end, the Florida State tight end, Cameron McDonald, 7 catches for 116 yards. Florida State's only touchdown was off of a pick 6, and it was also just an ugly game. 7 combined turnovers. UNC had 3. And FSU had 4. Thanks to the 4 picks, UNC, they get the win. They're now 3-0 all time against FSU. Got to give a lot of props for that Maryland team, man. I know, like, watching that game, I was like, all right, the Mountaineers, you know, they got some fight in them. Eric Alcorn looking all right. But, man, Eric, you got to invest in some O-line for next year, man, because if I'm counting this right, 11 sacks. And it feels like every time I was watching the game, he was getting sacked every time, especially in that second half. 11 sacks. They have an O-lineman named Hubbard. He gave up 6 sacks to that Maryland defense. That's not good at all. Gotta give credit to Moose. I totally forgot to look up what a baby moose is called. I mean, he had 14 rushes. Probably. He had 14 rushes for 83 yards, but hey, Tua's brother, man, he came out and showed up 227 yards, 3 touchdowns. But really, Maryland, they got the ball first. They had to punt the ball away. I think they got the ball first, if I remember correctly. And then West Virginia, they had the ball, and I don't think it was Moose that fumbled the ball, but it was somebody else, and they fumbled the ball, gave Maryland the ball in field goal territory to allow Maryland to win. So got to give props for Maryland coming back from 22-7 in the fourth quarter. Just a tough loss for the Mountaineers. 0-2 now to start College Series 5. But this one I really want to talk about. Washington.
You played the bell.
I know
There you go. Them boys lost to UCLA out there. UCLA
This
putting up
is
some fight though. What they do last week didn't look all too bad either.
But Washington also had a 20-7 lead, if I remember correctly. They also had a lead in this game and blew it. And that's tough, man. Aaron Buck, the tight end, 12 catches for 141 yards, 1 touchdown in this game. But you got to give credit to them Brewers, man. They were not going to allow Devin Diggs to come back on that field and be like, all right, you want to leave? You want to leave and go somewhere else? All right. And they beat him.
And he looked good in the preseason game with the Browns. He looking good in the college series too.
I saw that, man. I saw that.
So, yeah, he's really playing real to life.
But let me just say, man, with Washington, they got a lot of crap last year, kind of for having of what folks would say was a cupcake schedule, which I agree. And that's why this year it's like, all right, Washington, I think they were 3rd or 4th in having the most guys on their team going into the college series. And it's like, all right, well, Washington, you're in the Pac-12 title game. Let's give you guys, of course, start the year with who we might have thought were, teams that you guys can beat. But let's give you some. Going 0-2 in a game against Miami, Washington, you guys need to get it going, because I was not expecting you guys to come into this week 0-2. You had the tough loss to Oklahoma State, but blowing a 20-7 lead and allowing UCLA to get revenge on their former quarterback. I mean, something's got to change. I don't know if it's the personnel or what. I will give credit to EJ Bailey. He did show out with 6 catches for 133 yards, but the one guy, DTR, he was a stud, but their running back, Zach Charbonnet, 76 yards on the ground, but 6 catches, 70 yards, 1 receiving touchdown in the game. And of course, they were able to get in the field goal range to kick the game-winning field goal. So, who is is that Torres? That's the Bruins fan, the Bison's quarterback. I feel like he's a Bruins fan or something.
I don't know. Was he saying something in the chat while I was going live?
No, I just remember during the draft, he was like, "Where's the Bruins?" Like the draft hype trailer, and I'm like, "There's not going to be any Bruins in here, brother." So I don't know if he's like an actual Bruins fan or not, but got to give props to them, 1-1. So, and this is probably going to be their first ever time ranked in the college series. So.
Yeah. Hey, I got to play the bell to Washington once again and Devin Diggs, man.
Can't lose that game. If there was a game that you couldn't lose, especially knowing that Diggs wanted to beat his former team, this was not the game to lose going into this week.
Yeah, and it was on that game, man. I thought I had caught somebody trying to submit multiple players. It was crazy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because it was a crazy sequence that was going on where I can't remember the other guy that was talking.
Jalen Brooks.
Yeah, Jalen Brooks was talking as if it was like it almost seemed like he was talking about himself in third person. So I'm like,
right.
I'm like, what? And then the way it looked in the chat seemed as if 2 guys, like if he was acting as 2 guys, and as soon as he stopped talking, the other guy stopped talking. He didn't talk again, and I was just like, wow.
That's crazy.
So I had to check those dudes in podcasts, but the Discord.
And I saw them both.
But, yeah,
I saw them both. So
they both checked out to be real, but just know we on you boys. We on you boys.
They are probably like, who is Devin Diggs? Who is Brooks?
We got eyebrows raised over here.
We got
Yeah.
Hawks, man.
But yeah, that's it for the Saturday 1 p.m. games. We got the 4 p.m. games that happened. Penn State and Louisville was a great game. Penn State really separated later within the game. Big score 48-27. Miami looking very stout as they were to absolutely dominate Texas A&M 31-6. Then we had Oregon. Man, it was an ugly game for these guys. I'm not going to lie. They managed to pull it out
Yeah.
over Oklahoma State by a field goal. And that last touchdown they had to even make it that close. It was off a pick six by Ronnie Shanahan. Shanahan getting off to a rough start this season, but they end up walking out with the victory 17-14. What's your takeaways from these games?
I'll go over the Texas A&M and Miami game really quickly. Dorian Chavis, what a day, man. 28 for 40, 229 yards, 4 passing touchdowns as well. One guy, Juan Nancy, he caught all of them.
You can see
all of them
there on the picture too.
So also Miami, 6 sacks in this game. The defense didn't allow a single touchdown in this game. I thought the Aggies were going to get shut out, to be honest, because they couldn't move. They didn't pass the 50-yard line until the fourth quarter. That's how dominant they were. But the receiving game outside of that, but I'll bring that up when we get to the top 25. Oregon and Oklahoma State was a very intriguing game. That one, I was kind of expecting more. Chris Clark did his thing. He finally had his first 100-yard rushing day. But Oregon almost got greedy there at the end. You know, you would think with a 17-7 lead, just keep feeding the ball to Clark. And I got to say, I think this proved more that this is not the Oklahoma State teams of the past that we have seen. I think this Oklahoma State team can be competitive this year too, but Ronnie's kind of going through a funk. I don't know what's going on with him, but that was a game that I was almost expecting him to do a lot better than he did. And got to give credit to the Cowboys, man, for staying in that game. But Spencer Saunders is looking to be a different cornerback there. But Oregon, they get 1-1. This game I want to expand on, because if you remember last week, Smitty, Louisville was saying, "Oh, well, who do we got to beat to get some respect?" Mm-hmm. Well, when you lose like this.
But I will say Louisville did put up a good fight, though, for majority of this game.
It was.
And then it was like the quarterback.
It collapsed.
But that's just the talent started to take over for Penn State. But at the end of the day, that 27-point Louisville, the fight I saw within this game, that's what they need to do throughout the remainder of this season.
Yes. I do think they are a better team. I do think that this is a better Louisville team than we have seen the last 2 years. It's just the defensive side of the ball is going to be a struggle point, in my opinion. Devin Ford was able to have a really good game. But what I see here for Louisville, though, is that you cannot have Malik Cunningham throw the ball 47 times. But Washington, even though he only had 9 carries, he wasn't doing anything against this Penn State defense, though. You know, and we've talked about that in the past where, you know, if they notice that the run game isn't exactly going that way, they're going to start throwing the ball.
Well, they did work on their custom playbook as well. That's another key point to look forward to. They finished their custom offensive playbook I think it was yesterday or the day before. So that'll be interesting to look forward to see how they operate there.
So this is going to be a team going forward where I was talking to you about the whole Auburn thing, where they are going to have to give Steve Washington the ball, because we saw last week when they give him the ball at least 20 times a game, he runs over for 100 yards and does well. But I mean, Louisville, the 3 turnovers, but Penn State, man, 35 points in the second half too. And 2 of them were pick sixes as well. Like, this is a good Penn State team, guys. I would not, do not overlook this team. Sean Clifford, Devin Ford, Lambert Smith. You know they got Joey Porter on the defensive side of the ball. This is a good Penn State team. So those are my thoughts there.
All right, and that wraps up our 4 p.m. games on Saturday, and we go into our main event that happened on Saturday, which was South Carolina versus Georgia, and Georgia absolutely handling business again, looked just as consistent as great as they did the week before against Oregon, and they blow out South Carolina with their first SEC victory of the season in their first game in the conference, 42-10. I mean, we saw once again Taylor. His name's not on here. Well, not yeah. Taylor had 142 receiving yards, got in the end zone for a touchdown. One thing I can say about Keyshawn Taylor that I've been seeing on full display is this kid's got some hands. He can make some of the toughest
potential.
catches. So many great catches this kid makes, even when covered. He had a one-hand catch when man-to-man, and Jaden just threw it straight at him. Even with great coverage, dude still was able to moss him, threw it on the sidelines, has body control. I seen him in the week before in Oregon where he threw the slant, and the guy was underneath him, and still with the ball just reaching past the defender's tips of his fingers, he was able to extend and make the catch and get a crucial 1st and goal. Like, this kid's showing that he's definitely a great receiving weapon for Jaden, and that is not even including Jaden.
What Jaden Bush did, yeah.
And like he had a crazy stat line because I don't even think he had over 30 yards in this game, but the guy had 3 touchdowns. So it was
he had 41 yards. Okay, 41 yards.
It was low because I remember when he had the 3 touchdowns, he had only 18 yards. He had 18 yards at the time. He had 3 touchdowns, and I was just like, wow, this is an unreal stat again in the opposite way. And man, they just absolutely.
But it's showing his versatility, though. It's showing his versatility that, you know, from what we saw in the Oregon game. Okay, he can also be like a George Kittle type and take it all the way, but he can also be that red zone threat when you're down there at the line at the 2 or 3. And Jaden Young really likes throwing him the ball. But I agree with you, man. I'm actually a big fan of Keyshawn Taylor. 7 catches, 142 yards, and a touchdown as well. But props to D'Angelo Gary, man. He finally got his game going as well. There's a reason why we brought him back, and this game really showed why. But if we were doing the quarterback rankings through just the first 2 weeks, if you take all of CS4 or CS3 out of the equation, in my honest opinion, Jaden Young is QB1 right now from everything that I've seen so far in these first 2 weeks. He has looked absolutely stout. I mean, the only mistakes that he's really made was back in the Oregon game, and those were just 2 fumbles. But so far, I mean, he has 8 passing touchdowns now on the year, so
4 touchdowns in this game. So yeah, he's killing it. Of course, I can't give my opinions on that because I'm the one who comes up with the actual ratings. I can't let guys know who I think is top.
Right. Yeah. Right. But in my opinion, I think he has looked the best out of anybody in the first 2 weeks, just from what I've seen out of every cornerback. And I mean, this Georgia team, though, they did not let Spencer Rattler do anything in this game. And that's why, like, and we'll get to that in the top 25, but this Georgia team looks complete. We are seeing something different from this Bulldogs team that we didn't see in CS3, we didn't see in CS4. We knew that they had talent, but sometimes there was something that it just wouldn't go all together.
Consistency, that was all, and the quarterback play was a little bit of the issue with that.
Very
I do want to
inconsistent.
Also give a shout out to Royal Boyle 78 says a little something shows my support. Keep doing what you're doing, fella. Hey, I appreciate it, my guy, man. I saw him when he first came in the Michigan and Notre Dame game. And the first time checking us out, and I know he had a great time there, even posted on Twitter and all that. So yeah, I keep in touch with my guys that's in in the chat section. I see you, Royal Bro, and appreciate the donation, my guy. But you can continue on, Pecan.
But yeah, no, Jaden Bush, man, I mean, he got to show that he's not just like a deep threat. He's a red zone threat. But just like I was saying, there is something on the defensive side of the ball that feels complete now. And I'm very excited to watch this Georgia team going forward. And those are my thoughts on this game.
Yeah, absolutely great game. Marshawn Lloyd at first, he looked good. Like South Carolina was looking pretty decent, but I just love the response by Georgia. But that's all I got to say about that. We're going to go ahead and move on to the Sunday premiere games as we get a look at the 1 p.m. games that It had LSU versus Iowa, USC versus Stanford, and Baylor versus Arizona State. First game, LSU purely able to dominate Iowa 41-10. They look extremely good in that game. Then we had USC with a huge upset. Got to play the bell for these boys as they fall after a crazy last minute catch that was made to get them in field goal range by the submitted tight end, Finn Fowler.
Finn Fowler, our guy.
Yeah, kicked it in there and was able to win by 1 point, 13-12. And then Baylor, able to escape Arizona State. Arizona State was able to fight back. Looked way better than they did against Louisville last week when they got beat 30-5. And Baylor ended up still walking out of that though, 33-28. What's your analysis here in these games?
So the first game I want to get out of the way, LSU and Iowa. LSU, this is what we wanted to see from you guys. This is a opponent that everyone is probably thinking might be the worst team in the college series. LSU completely blew these boys out the water, man. Their tight end, Heath Duvall, 14 catches, 141 yards, 2 touch. Every time that I look at these stats, man, I'm like, oh, a tight end went for 100 yards. Shocker. So that's why I'm bringing them up, because they're going off this year. John Emery, though, another 100-yard rushing game for him. That's 2 weeks in a row, 149 yards and a tutty in this game. And they have a defensive end, a generic Frank Shelby, 4 sacks in this game. They had 7 sacks total in this game. Iowa, they're just terrible. But LSU, this is what I want to see from you guys. Now, the 2 games. First off, I'm going to talk about the one that wasn't the upset that almost was. Baylor, they got up to 26-7. They were taking advantage of the turnovers that Arizona State were giving them. And Michael Simmons, he had a pretty good day, 9 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. Shamir Williams, 7 catches, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns for him. But this is now 2 weeks in a row. We got to talk about this, Baylor. When you start to have a lead, you got to hold that lead, and they almost lost it again, which they didn't, and I'll give them credit because a win is a win. Still, though, you almost blew a 26-7 lead. I want to see Baylor, when they start to get that lead, to just close that game out, kind of like what LSU did or what Miami did or what Georgia did. If you guys want us to look at you in the light of these teams, you have to start winning like that. Because when you start allowing these other teams start to come back on you guys and throw the ball on you guys, it's going to give us some concerns of when you finally do play against these teams. So, because Arizona State, man, 3 for 8 in the red zone. I've never seen that before in my life. You cannot go to the red zone 8 times and only score it 3 times. But ASU was almost given a chance. Now, Brenya, he had a tough start, but 45 rushes for 2 touchdowns. He also threw 2 touchdowns.
Rushes.
45 rushing. Sorry, holy crap, that's not good. I wrote that wrong. But he had the costly fumble in the red zone, though. But Jordan Granger, he also came back and threw a pick that allowed Arizona State to get that chance, and he had that costly fumble in the red zone.
So back and forth when you talk about that, because it was like he threw the pick, got down there, Arizona fumbled.
Baylor got the ball.
Lead, throws a Hail Mary. Dude gets a
flag,
so they get
which I was like, what?
I'm like,
I was like, what?
No way, boy. And the dude ended up not throwing it in the end zone, got deflected. Good defense.
No,
anyway, and they lost.
Yes. So, hey, Baylor, a win is a win, but there's some consistency concerns there that I have. But we'll see how you guys go. USC, you have never lost to Stanford in this whole entire college series. The last time that a team scored just 12 points in the college series, they didn't win a game. And guess who that was? Us. Well, that was you guys this last week, USC. You guys scored 12 points, didn't score a single touchdown in this game. Now, you got 7 sacks. The defense can get sacks because this Stanford O-line is not great. But you guys had 358 yards to Stanford's 215 yards. But the other thing is, you guys aren't converting on third down. 5 for 15 on thirds, and anytime you guys got in the red zone, you only was able to kick field goals in this game. But credit to Finn Fowler, man. I gave him his props a week ago, and I talked to him for just a bit throughout last week, man. And I'm really happy. He had a goated IG post. I don't know if you saw of what his caption was, but it was great. I think it was like
from 0-1 to
0-1 to 0 we won. I was dying, which is great. But a 53-yarder, a college kicker kicking a 53-yard field goal to win this game. But, after giving them props for beating Iowa a week ago, this is kind of what USC is signing up for with what I like to call the Seco Cardenas experience, where you don't know what you're going to get.
More context to the storyline behind this is why playbooks are very important. There's been a couple of teams that finished their custom playbooks, and there's been some teams, of course, that don't have them, and they've been just rolling with the base. But there's been some teams that haven't done the best of jobs with creating their custom playbooks, and I feel like USC was one of them. Of course, I'm sitting there talking with guys as I'm creating these books for them, but I'm not going to sit here and give you the blueprint on how to make your team, ball. You're supposed to know that. The pressure's on you. The pressure's on you to put what you know is going to work on your team. Do your research. How well do you know your team? What should we put forward? And once they created their book, I felt like there was just a certain amount of plays and things in which they took out or that they opted to keep and go in, and then you had Severio in there, man. He's very passionate about USC. He was going off a little bit.
Trying to mess with my...
But alumni cannot have final say in that, so he was, he was talking to the dudes like, yo, y'all sure y'all want to do this? And they was like, yeah, we want to.
I do remember that, yeah.
Said, right.
I do remember that.
These dudes
sure, man?
12 points, all field goals. So like just because you got a custom playbook, if you don't know what you're doing,
it doesn't mean automatic success.
It could be a killer for you. It could definitely be a killer for you, and I think it was a killer for USC in this game. I can't remember if these guys told me that if they wanted to go back with that custom book and just thought it was just the way they played for whatever reason in that game, or if they want to go, if they want to go to the base, or if they want to keep with the custom playbook. So I need to go ahead and figure that out. It says, no, Smitty, I want this playbook. It says, oh yeah. So I'll talk to the guys because you guys play tomorrow. We'll talk about that game. But I think this game was a pure showing of just the custom playbook not working as expected.
To answer,
in the base, I'm not gonna lie, they look really good in the base the first week. I know it's
and we saw that, and we even saw that in Discord scrimmage as well when that was the base as well, and they looked good.
Yeah. And once teams do their custom playbooks, they can't make any more because I do not have the time to be making all these changes.
No.
So it's like once you make a custom
so if you want to,
you got to keep with it or you go back to the base. That's it. You can't alternate.
So that was just the thing with USC, though, is like they were getting yards. They were getting down the field. They just couldn't get in the end zone. And I think, yes, you can say playbook as well, but you got to execute those plays that you think are going to work well, and they did not. But just like I said, got to give credit to Stanford, though, a 53-yard field goal to win the game. You don't really see that from a college kicker. A lot of these guys cannot kick over 45 yards. We have seen it, or kick 45 yards accurately.
Hey, this year in the RFL was pretty bad, too, but, I mean, this was really bad.
This is really bad, but this guy kicked a 53-yarder to win the game. I was shocked because I was like, oh, yeah, they are going to miss it.
He got in the range as I was recording this for it to premiere, and I was just like, as soon as he got in the range, first of all, I was extremely hyped when Fowler made that play because game would have been over if he got tackled. This guy breaks the tackle, goes through another tackle to get out of bounds to stop the clock because if he didn't do that, that was game. He got out of bounds, got within the red line for the field goal, and I saw it was kind of like right on the edge of the cusp, like 2 yards further within. So I was like, he's got a chance here, but it's not going to be easy. And like you said, 53 yards, dude kicked it. It seemed like it was going a little low, but it went over that crossbar, and I almost didn't think he made it at first because they had a little cutscene.
I didn't either.
And then when I saw 13-12, I was like, oh, wow, he did that.
Madden, if you guys can ever do this for Sims, and you guys have the broadcast angle, give us the broadcast angle for field goals as well.
That, man.
They did like Madden 12, right? Yeah. So please give us that in Madden 24. They probably won't.
We gotta put in some. Right. I don't think too many people talk about or bring that up in the forums and stuff. I'm gonna make sure to try to get on that.
But it's like that's like one that I've thought of. Give us that, like, you know, on the broadcast. Let us see the kick from that angle, because you can't really tell. Like, you always have to wait until the scoreboard bug tells you if, you know. Yeah. So.
All right, so that was the 1 p.m. games on Sunday, and then our final premier games. You only had two, of course, and we had Wisconsin versus Oklahoma and TCU versus Tennessee. Two great games. Oklahoma was able to be victorious over Wisconsin. Wisconsin able to battle back pretty good, but at the end of the day, OU victorious, getting their first win of the season. And as for the Tennessee Tioneers, man, they fell, man, and it was mainly because of Tyon's issues with turning the football over. We know that he was 6-2 as a starter for this team last year. Of course, got suspended for 4 games, and then, you know, for the most part, those 2 games that he did lose, one of those games, I believe, was against TCU.
This was this team. This was the last team that he played before he got suspended. So this was almost like a personal game to him.
Yeah, a personal game. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it done as the new number 9 in town got it done, and they won 24-20, which drops, you know, Tennessee down, of course, to 1-1, and makes you wonder. There's a lot of talks about these guys getting into playoffs potentially, and, you know, they had to win games against
teams a lot of hype.
This. So, like, we don't know what to expect from this point already. What's your takeaways from these games?
So I'll talk about the Wisconsin and Oklahoma game really quick. Oklahoma got out to a pretty big lead, but they almost blew a 27-9 lead as well. This was another game. This whole entire day, besides the LSU-Iowa game, something was brewing. Like, something was like in the air after watching the ASU and Baylor game and the Stanford and USC game, and then watching these 2 games with OU almost blowing a 27-9 lead. Eddie Champ, the tight end, another tight end, had a big day, 11 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown in this game. Got to give props to MSJ. He had 9 catches for 123 yards. Yep, did his thing. But a shocking performance, and a guy that we kind of had a lot of hype going into this year that hasn't been playing to what we thought he was going to be playing after 2 weeks is Jalen Cooper, man. He only had 19 carries for 69 yards and a fumble in this game as well that allowed Wisconsin to get back in this game. Jalen Cooper, man, you know, he kind of looked like he had potential to, you know, to become the next D'Amico Brewer, but he's having a tough time right out of the gate. I don't know what's going on there, but props to Rhodes, man. 387 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game, but also a pick. But they almost blew a 27-9 lead. But JoJo Carter, man, I got to give you some props, man, for getting that pick and shutting it down to not allow the Badgers to come back and tie it and send that thing into overtime. So, Sooners, you guys are 1-1. This TCU and Tennessee game, I kind of want to talk about more. Obviously, this was a game that if there was a chance for us to show, like, Tyon, all right, you threw a pick 6 in this game that allowed them to get the lead. This is your drive, and he fumbles. At first, but yeah. He was. It started out really, really good, but it felt like the whole game flipped on its head after the Amir Daniels. I think it was like how shot. Yeah, very. Yes. And I mean, Errol Matthews, he had another pick six in this game, but the pick six in this game that Noon had, also, hold on, Charlie Dodson, the tight end, 12 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown, guys. Guys, it's the year of the tight end.
Might be the best tight end class, man. There's a
Might be the
lot of
best
dogs.
tight end class we will ever see, because this tight end
roofers.
class is ridiculous. But he had his chance. Tyon, this is those drives like when we talk about Maxwell or how pro scouts are going to see you. How do you do when the game is on the line? Are you going to be that guy that can lead us to a win? And I'm not going to say that he can't. It's just these are the games that can kind of lead to. I don't know if he has that clutch factor in him, and and I'm not saying that he doesn't, but 34 for 49, 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Obviously, one of them being the pick six to give TCU the lead in this game. But he did something that we always tell a quarterback do: slide, man, slide, because we know that you can run the ball, but that not choosing the slide when he got hit and fumbled the ball, which gave TCU the ball back, and they were able to drive that clock, man, and they were able to win this game. But I know we want to talk more about what Tennessee did wrong, but Tanner Hendricks, man, he had himself a game, 25 for 34, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and two picks. And he also had a fumble in this game, but Tanner Hendricks and Amir, the only 2 guys there. And I was telling folks, I was like, this TCU team, yes, they only scored 3 points against us, but I would not take these guys lightly at all, because this was a good win for this squad. But tough break for Tyon, man, because just like you were saying, I mean, this was the last game before he got suspended and
Couldn't get that.
Couldn't get that vengeance. This was another game where it was denied. So
just try to put the team on his back too much there. Thought he could probably run through the tackle and keep the ball, but we already know that when quarterbacks take off, especially in this game, you get hit. If you don't slide, the slightest hits, especially when you're fatigued, that ball's coming out. And unfortunately, Tyon on the worst end of that. We get into our second to last game of the week from week 2, and here we go. You might as well go ahead, bend down, get out the picture frame here, and let Jordan do all the talking for you, Pecan, because
hold on.
USC, the number 1 team in the country.
Hold on. I think there is a power surge. I think there is a power surge, Smitty. I think my connection's going bad. I might have to jet.
Yeah, so you can see, this is the reason why Pecan got the background, man. Got to play the bell. OSU dropping the game, man. They've done it before and still won a national championship. But Clemson, wow, these guys, after coming off a disappointing loss to Texas.
You should investigate them, Smitty.
Yeah,
I think they had a bounty.
Uyunglele was out there. 2 touchdowns, had an interception, but who was running really good? This Tremaine Banks, this generic running back. They have him as called
Tanner Banks was running really well.
So now he should be African American again. But yeah, it wasn't much going on. Euro Winbush, 9 carries, 38 yards. Couldn't really run him too much. And the big storyline was Dylan Lewis, man. Such a great collegiate debut as a true freshman in his first game against TCU, and then here, I mean, 7 of the 8 turnovers from him, 5 of them being interceptions, the other 2 being fumbles, but only one of those fumbles counted.
So it was only 6. So it was only 6, yeah.
So it was,
but we still had. It was
bad. It was bad out there.
All
at
right,
the end of the day.
so
I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about what happened to your Buckeyes out there, and of course we'll dive.
There's some unfortunate fun facts that I wrote down on here. Fun fact for you, Smitty: this is the most points scored on Ohio State since CS2. This was the longest touchdown given up since CS2 versus Nebraska. back in CS2. So Ohio State went 2 years without allowing a 70-yard, actually, yeah, a 60-yard plus touchdown, and this was the first time that Ohio State had given up over 30 points since CS2. But it wasn't really what Clemson offense was doing, even though they had a lot of good. It was taking advantage of the mistakes that Ohio State was making.
Simpson was out there cracking.
That guy is a beast. Holy crap. I don't know if I can say crap or not. Can I?
Crap. Yeah, you
okay. Yeah. Because I had some other words to say on Sunday night. But just tough break for Dylan, man. It just felt like everything that could go wrong, and this is what we kind of expect from freshmen when they feel like they have so much to prove, especially after, of what we saw Monty Wyatt do for the last 2 years, for Ohio State. Now, Monty had his struggles as well that were well documented, especially those first 2 games, which, that kind of sucked. But we were able to get through it and keep us in check. But, you can't have Euro running the ball 9 times in this game. I don't know what happened to the play calling in this game that you're only having Winbush run 9 times. But so Ohio State, you got to balance it out. But got to give credit to that Clemson team, man. It was just more of them just taking advantage of the mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you have to convert those and take what the other team is giving to you. And when you're giving the ball over like that, and that's something that Dylan is going to work on, is his short passing game, because a lot of those were off of the short passing game.
And two were just great plays. Like
there is the one on the tight end.
He got fumbled trying to scramble.
Yeah.
And then the one where that ended up being a pick 6 by Simpson. He threw it. I saw what he was trying to do there, but Simpson, with a great extension, was able to jump right in front of that to pick it off. And there was one where he was deep down the field or off the play action.
That one was crazy, yeah.
But the reason why that got intercepted, because for one, he was late throwing the ball. The other one, a great play on the ball, because dude jumped over his back to get the interception. And then for that being as deep as a pass as that was, that's a long throw to make. So guys can make that type of recovery in the receiver,
especially on a tight end. Yeah.
So he wasn't coming back to the football to attack it. That's what they teach you as a wide receiver. You can't just sit there and wait on the ball. Got to come back and get it.
The thing is, though, is that when you watch the game, it always feels like whenever you watch the game, there's always a play or two where you can signal that there's a complete change. And when Clemson threw a pick on their second drive, it almost feel like business as usual. Ohio State is rolling. They're going down the field, and then Dylan, he fumbles the ball at the 1 yard line. 1 yard line too. Yeah, that close from a 14-3 game where the momentum of the game could have just been a Ohio State route, but that changed it in Clemson's favor and everything. And then, the second half, Ohio State, they came back, and put up 14 unanswered points, but it was cover 0, Smitty. Cover 0. I went back and I watched that play maybe 5 times.
Just throw up the middle?
Yep.
Well,
cover 0.
You should, because if it was cover 0, I don't see why nobody was guarding him. But the thing is, I saw
Corbin Coase. It was not cover 3. It was man, because I saw it was man because Wardell Mack got grabbed onto the guy that was up top. Corbin Coase, the strong safety, got grabbed onto the guy that was running a in route or deep in route. And KJ Harrison, I think, was the cover 0 guy that's supposed to stay back. I think that's what happened.
Well, cover 0 is nobody's back there. That's how I knew it's got to be.
Okay.
Because the way it happened was it was a straight seam up, like it was a.
It was still man.
So yeah, so it was definitely man. It If it was
It was man
okay, so if it's
because
man,
when
that
I
must have
went
been a
back,
cover
because
one. But the weird thing about it though,
cover one, yeah.
the weird thing about it though is I saw two guys on the outside at the corner position. They're playing back like it's cover three, and then you had the guy in the middle. So the guy, so it's either two things. It's either it was a shift off from a one safety look to a cover two with the corner dropping back with him, or
Gotcha.
he either. Well, I think that's what it was because I said cover two during the
It
broadcast.
wasn't a cover two because of what changed it is I saw Corbin Coase go and cover the third wide receiver like he was playing man
Now
because there was a
was that the guy who was furthest back? Because if it wasn't Corbin Coast, because the guy who was furthest back was playing zone for sure. Because that's how I know it's got to be either a cover. It had to be either cover one or a cover two, where these dudes
I
were
think it
dropping
was
back.
cover one. I think it was cover one because Warren Mack, if that was a zone cover two, Warren Mack wouldn't have stayed on that guy up top. If
It's
you go
good we're
back and
still doing this breakdown too, but
yeah,
in
but
terms
yeah,
of no, it's
sorry.
good. We can get
We
into it because
just
I still want to know because this is like Wardell Mack. What side was he on? Like if we're behind the quarterback, was he
Warren
the left
Mack,
side?
he's up top, so he's seeing B1. And when the wide receiver ran on the in route, Warren Mack ran straight with him,
Now
not as he was like
was that
covering a
the
zone.
left
He
side?
was coming out of the zone. Yes.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it was a cover two because
Okay.
because if he's on the left side, if you're looking from where the quarterback's position is, and he covered that dig on that left side, I saw the safety drop back to cover the middle left side of the field. The corner wasn't guarding anybody because I went back in the instant replay and saw he kept dropping back. So it was
Right,
like
with
he went from
Spriggs, yeah.
here, and then the corner went straight back, and then it left that seam wide open because they split the cover two, and then they were able to get it that way. So yeah, I like
Just a
going in.
complete
Yeah.
it's just a complete breakdown in coverage. And just like I said, that's the longest play that Ohio State has given up in 2 years. So, and I know I've been hearing from some of the guys, possibly
Yeah, I'm
they
about
want to
say, Judge, yeah,
make
if it
a
was
change.
cover one, if it was cover one, there's no way it could have been because if it was, whoever that safety was in the middle did an awful job because he should never have allowed that to be that wide open. He definitely had to be in that
Yeah.
cover too.
Maybe it was cover two. I think it's what I saw was Wardell Mack covering, so that's why I was
I mean, you could still
thinking
have
it was
cover two
man.
man, so you could be right with the man.
Gotcha.
You could have
Okay.
cover two man.
So I didn't know that. I'm only basic when it comes to the defensive plays, but it's just one of those things, man. That this was tough. That Clemson, they did so many things right, except yeah, it was not.
Cover buns.
Yeah, it was not good. So, but congrats to the Tigers, man. But hey, we've been through this before, and it's so hard to go undefeated in this college series, as we have seen, except for one team ever, which is the Georgia Bulldogs. So, Ohio State, don't feel like your season's over. It's week 2, and Clemson. They got, just like you were saying, team. This Clemson team is a better team than what it was in CS3 and CS4. The only thing that I'm still kind of worried about is their quarterback play. That's the one thing that I am worried about. Yes, he is a high overall, but you could tell in that game, besides the big pass, that there's something missing with DJ there that I was seeing throughout that game. But got to give him credit. Banks had a great game. Joseph Nagata with the huge play, but Trenton Simpson on the defensive side of the ball, that is a guy to watch for if you're playing against him. He is a beast. So congrats to them, man. They still got to haunt me, man.
Yeah, we get to our final game. This game right here.
On top, Spenny. Cherry on top.
Banger. Michigan Ohio State loses, Michigan wins, and Michigan takes lead in the Big Ten because of this.
That's fine.
They come back with 21
it's more than
points.
winning.
It was 24 to 17.
To 14.
To 14. Yeah, 21 unanswered points, and they win this one 35 to 24. McNamara I keep saying McNamara. McNamara had almost
And the
300
other
yards,
guy.
2 touchdowns. Yeah, Buckner. He had 2
Imagine if I didn't
touchdowns.
tell. Imagine
I've
if I
been saying
didn't
that all
tell
season.
you that, Smitty.
Yeah.
The whole entire game for both teams, which I thought was like funny that it was the whole entire game. If I didn't tell you that, you would have gone.
And McNamara would have been it all
Yeah,
night. But,
all game.
But yeah, 2 rushing touchdowns for McNamara. This guy, man, I thought that this wide receiver, I think it's Reggie or Roman. I think it's Roman Wilson. I thought he was generic at first. I was like, yo, this guy's got some serious speed on him. He's just a playmaker. We saw it happen last week as well. He ended the game 121 yards, a touchdown. Crazy. I think the craziest play of the game was when McNamara rolled out towards his right, went wide, and just threw the ball deep down the field. Looked like he overthrew him, but Wilson was able to catch up, extend his hands, just able to catch it with the fingertips, and then get out of there for the touchdown. And I think that was the play that tied the game up. And then it was just all she wrote from there. 14 more points scored. Michigan 2-0. Notre Dame, a tough 0-2, man. They fought hard in those 2 games. I mean, this is a tough pool, a tough schedule in general for Notre Dame this season. But they're showing that they can put up a good fight. Hopefully these guys play well against other competition to get at least bowl eligible this season.
Notre Dame felt like they had this game too. Like it felt like they had this game until something flipped, and the Wolverines, man, McNamara had a pretty good game, but the one guy that I want to bring up on the defensive side of the ball, Taylor Upshaw for them, man, he's a stud. That guy for the Wolverines, man, he was all over the field. Now, I know it's a 11-point win, but this game did not feel like a 2-score game, like, at all with the way that it finished.
Many people say already game of the year.
Just because of how crazy that fourth quarter was, we had like 3 or 4 drives in a row where
was crazy because I mean, even when Notre Dame was able to get down the field before the half, kick the field goal, take the lead 17-14. I mean, it was energy all the way from start to end. There was
and it felt like a rivalry game, which is why I was like so upset that we didn't see it in CS4, because we saw it for the first 3 years, and and to me, I was like, we have to bring this game back because this is a big rivalry in real life. So, I mean, and you could see why this has been a entertaining game throughout the whole entire college series. I gave you the stats. It's been close every single year. So this was just a fun game to watch. I hated how it ended, but still got to give them props, man, for playing the way that they did. 21 unanswered points to win the game. Extremely efficient on third downs as well. 11 for 15 on third downs. But if I'm the Irishman, you got to feel tough for them because it was 2 weeks in a row. The Miami game, it felt like that they needed a miracle or something to win that game. This was a game that felt like we had a win. So this is a game that Notre Dame for 2 weeks in a row now. For this week, that it's like, can we finally string it enough for a whole 4 quarters to win a game? So, still, Isaiah Neal, I think he's going to be really, really good, yeah, Smitty. I mean,
pretty good. Take a shot at
they also
drink.
It's a Diet Coke. It's not alcohol, guys. It's not alcohol. Now, on Sunday night, it was something different, but still got to give a lot of props for the Fighting Irish for battling the way they have, because they weren't great last year, Smitty. Like, it was almost shocking to see how bad that they were like a year ago. So, there is some fight, and they got a tough schedule, man, and we will talk about them more here coming up. But what I will say, when we do bring out this top 25, I guarantee you they will be that number 25 team, though. I'm calling it.
All right. Well, with that being said, that's it for the recaps in the moment we've all been waiting.
Let me say, and Smitty, how hard was 9 through 24?
Actually, wasn't too hard. I was able to go through it.
I was having problems. I was You made that too easy. Like,
Yeah, I
because
came up
I
with
was
the
like, that's.
top 25 that night. Like I went through it. I
Do
already
you
knew.
still do you
So
still do it by like who beat who
yeah,
in like a
so
sense?
head to head, yeah, that does matter. But once you get more than one head that like this guy, this team beat this team, but they lost to this team that beat that team, and once it becomes that, then it's a choice of who do I feel is better, like
Who do you feel
overall.
like looks
Yeah,
better?
who do I
Yeah.
think is a better team? Who's played the better comp? Who needs to go here? Who needs to go there? You know, what I mean, that's kind of where it is. But record is always first in the college series for the 32. So guys already know the teams that are 0-2, dead at the bottom. I don't care if you know your top team. You just know if you don't have a better record than the other teams ahead of you, you're not going to be in that category. We have only 8 2-0 teams, so all the teams that are undefeated at
We
this
know
point
who's going to
is going
be
to be
the
at 1
top
through 8.
8, right?
Yeah, so here we go. Let's get a look at this top 25. But before I start this, I want to know in the chat, who do you guys got as the #1 team in the country after this week? Pecan, you can put a guess out there as well.
So, and I hope I don't upset this team because I know
Hey,
they're so
you don't
high.
hear as analysis. You speak
I
your
already
mind.
know, but you know what? And this is why I have to be honest. Yes, it's only been 2 weeks, but the team that has impressed me the most throughout the 2 weeks that I think should be number one is the Georgia Bull Dogs, because from what I've seen, they look like a complete team. Like they look like they can play 4 complete quarters. I mean, this is the thing that we haven't been seeing from them for the last 2 years, and the way that they played. The only reason why I'm putting them up of Miami is just because I think they have them beat in that wide receiver area. That's like the one thing that I think Miami, if they were to play against the Bulldogs, that they would have a big issue with, is that those corners would not let wouldn't let those guys get open to throw the ball. And I still have some doubts after seeing Isaiah Allen after 2 weeks. Now, I do think Miami is a great team, but I still wouldn't be mad if they're number one. They are a great team. They got the great deep defensive pieces, but that's like the one thing that I think is lacking when I look at what the Bulldogs have going on. So,
All right. And so we got some yeses in the chat, a couple random things, different teams out here too that I didn't think of.
it's not Maryland, guys. Not the Maryland Terps.
All right, so
Sorry
here we
to you
go.
guys.
#1
I
team
have to look
in
at
the
the stream for
country
this.
is Georgia, 2-0. Of course, then it's Miami, Alabama at 3, LSU 4, Michigan 5, Penn State 6, Florida 7, Maryland 8, Clemson 9, Ohio State dropping from 1 to 10, Maryland at 11, Tennessee at 12, Texas 13, USC 14, Oregon 15, Oklahoma 16, TCU 17, Louisville 18, South Carolina 19, Texas A&M 20, Oklahoma State 21, North Carolina 22, Stanford 23, UCLA 24, and just like you predicted, Pecan, Notre Dame holding on at 25.
Out of all of the teams who are 0-2, who was going to get one last spot, to me, it had to be them because they have looked the strongest by far out of the teams that don't have a win. Just like I said, here is the other thing, though. This is still week 3. We still have so many games left to play. So it's like, I don't think Maryland's going to be in the top 10 the whole entire year, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's not all that big concern yet to get like freaked out of who is where, because there are still so many games that are left to play. But to me, I do agree with Georgia being the #1 team right now based on what I've seen through the first 2 weeks, and that just gives them the slight edge over Miami in my opinion, though. LSU at 4 over the Wolverines, that one kind of shocked me. I know I'm about to give them props, man, but in my opinion, I think they are better than LSU, in my opinion. So LSU, they might not like me saying that, but if I was to pick in a game for that, I would say the Wolverines are better.
No, and for that point as well, Michigan has looked great, of course. LSU, even though they haven't played the toughest of comp, they handled business like they were supposed to.
Which they did, which is what we wanted them to do.
If they didn't do what they were supposed to at that point, then they would have been lower than Michigan. But for them to really come out and to see what really, I weigh in all the factors. I don't just look at, the situation. I look at, okay, this team had a custom playbook. This is how great they looked afterwards. This team didn't have a custom playbook. This is what's going on.
And
so I'm expecting what's going to happen throughout the year. And so when I see LSU with a custom playbook come out, I know it's Iowa, but dominate 41-10 like they're supposed to. And then the last week,
which is what we were wanting to see.
Last week they don't do like what they're, necessarily blow out the team. I think it was Florida State they played week 1.
Yeah, which was the 24-7, which they've now lost 24-7 twice.
In that department, but once again, that was their base. Got the custom, tore it up, Iowa. So at that point, I was just like, hey, they're not better than Alabama, in my opinion, right now, though. But yeah, I'll put them over Michigan for right now because Michigan handled business. Wisconsin, solid team this year, but they're 0-2. And then Michigan just got the victory over Notre Dame, which was a great game and all, but we'll have to see. And a great test to see if LSU deserves a spot like this is, who they're playing this week.
Which we'll talk about later, yeah.
A lot of things are going to be determined based off the schedule. So, yeah.
Man, pretty big games. Now, looking at the top 25, this is a big week now, too. Yeah. Those Sunday and Monday night games, those are spicy matchups, and even the Friday night game is pretty good as well. But still, some of those teams that are 1-1 guys, and this is what a lot of folks I try to tell, because on the team that I was on last year, we lost to Oregon and we lost to West Virginia. Everybody that made the playoffs last year had 2 losses. So whether it's us, whether it's the Clemson Tigers, the Baylor Bears, the Tennessee Vols, USC, OU, Oregon, all because you're 1-1 doesn't mean your season is over. So plenty of football left to be played.
Yeah. So that's the top 25. Of course, that'll be posted on the social media pages. And now we get into our final topic of the podcast, which is the week 3 schedule. So let's go ahead and dive into what's coming up this week for our games. Tomorrow, opening up the week 3 slate of games, we have Oklahoma, number 16, taking on number 14, USC. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the spreads here on my end. I forgot to do that.
I have them as well in all of my notes.
Okay.
But if you want to tell them, yeah.
Yeah, I won't. Make sure I pull them so I can see them as well here. All right, so USC here at home. Know they had the tough loss last week, but I'm gonna pull for them to win at home by 3 because they're going back to their base. I'm pretty sure, and they looked really good in that. And I think if they go back to that base, they have a good opportunity to win it at home here over Oklahoma. Oklahoma, I'm not sure. I need to go check. Let me make sure real fast on my end to see if they actually have their book done. So they do have their offensive book as well. And we saw that then against Wisconsin, which looked pretty solid, but still going to pull for USC.
Which is understandable because, USC, they feel like they're the most better team, especially after Oklahoma, the tough loss to Texas A&M, who the next week only scored 6 points against Miami, and they also almost allowed Wisconsin back in the game. They've only played twice, and if you remember the last these teams played, Smitty, CS3 was in the playoffs.
Yep.
Playoff in the Con Bowl, Calvin Poole versus Allen Mourning, 41-17 blowout, man. But OU also beat them in CS1, 20-10. Smitty, you're going to be shocked with some of my picks for this week, man, but I kind of want to flip-flop now because I originally had OU picked in this game, but now with knowing USC's kind of going back to that base and kind of simpling the play, look, I'm going to go back on USC, man. I think what we saw from USC last week is they had that Stanford game in the bag if they just could get in the end zone. Mm-hmm. I mean, they had over 140 yards compared to to Stanford, but yeah, I'm gonna go with USC in this one now, knowing that they're going back to their base.
All right, game number 2 on Friday. You got Tennessee, and it's supposed to be a battle of two undefeated teams. We're looking forward to this game. Tennessee, of course, losing this past week, as we talked about the TCU. They're going to be on the road taking on A-Rich and the Gators. I do think that this is a bounce back game, though, for Tennessee. So I'm actually going to go for the Pioneers, and I got them winning by a field goal or more.
So, interesting fact about this game, Smitty. Obviously, this is a real life rivalry game as well. But until last year, Florida has beaten Tennessee every single year in the college series until Tyon went to Tennessee. And that was even when Florida last year, because they had Chris Jones at the cornerback spot. But this one I was kind of tough on. This was another one that I wasn't even feeling strongly like I think Tennessee is just going to pull away from this game just because I've been so impressed with AR's play. Now, I know folks are probably going to say I'm a little bit biased because I'm a Colts fan in real life, but there's just something about AR, man, that he brings another dimension to this game. But Tennessee, they have the defensive pieces that Auburn, didn't have. And if they can force AR to make turnovers in this game, that is going to be a key factor. Is the turnovers, and I do have Tennessee winning this game, but I'm going to say it's really close. I know the spread is by 3.
Yeah, 3. You think
I think it's going to
2 or 1?
I think it might be 2 or 1. I think this has a potential to be game of the week. So, right. Tennessee, I am pulling for you, but I would be shocked if Florida wins, though.
All right, and then we move into the Saturday premiere game, starting off with UCLA versus Texas A&M. I got Texas A&M winning by 4 or more points here at home.
So, really fun fact. This is kind of why I had a lot of fun with the schedule. This is the most games we have had so far that none of these teams have played each other. So, we're seeing a lot of fresh matchups this week in the college series. These two teams, they have never played. UCLA, I know they're feeling very high and mighty because no one, I don't think really, except me, really picked them to beat Washington, and they got revenge on their former quarterback. But Texas A&M, man, after also getting an upset win against the Sooners, you go out, you don't score a single, you don't get in the end zone once against the Miami team. I mean, it's kind of tough. I mean, I will say Texas A&M as well, but I also don't see them covering this spread.
All right, game number 2, Washington versus Miami. I'm pretty sure everybody's going to just throw the palm trees up. Everyone is expecting Miami to win, including me. This is the biggest spread of the week. I got Miami winning by 14 or more points here at home.
Yeah, this was the game that I penciled in as like, oh, this should be a fun live game to do if Washington is 2-0, which when we looked at it, if you look at who they played, you would at least think that Washington was going to go into this game 2-0. Nope, 0-2. Now you're playing on Saturday, going 0-2 against Miami. Now, Washington did beat these guys back in CS2, Smitty, 37-14. It's going to be reversed on Saturday.
37-14, he said. Jeez, yeah, it might be.
Back in CS2, it's going to be reversed on Saturday, in my opinion. This is not a game to go in here. I like a lot of those guys, man. R&J Freeman, Samaj Sims, they ain't got some guys that I really enjoy having combos with, but it's like, this is a team, man, that is struggling right now to really find its, yeah, and they also have a problem with drops. And this is a secondary that you do not want to have that problem.
A lot of man.
Yes, because this is a team that's going to.
Balls.
Yes, so this is a team. This is a team. This is a team. This is a team that can, that can make you pay. So, yeah, even though they beat them badly 3 years ago, Miami, I think, will actually win this game 37-14. So, let's go on to the next game.
All right, so next game we got Stanford versus Florida State. I'm pulling for Florida State in this one, really because I feel like both teams are evenly matched. I feel like Florida State. I don't know. I just feel like they since they have the home field.
Do you feel like this is the game that? Do you feel like this is finally the game where they turn it around?
I think so. I do feel like this Florida State team has opportunity.
They're running out of steam in so far. They've only scored 7 points twice in their last 2 games. And not so fast, Smitty, though. Yeah. Yes, literally not so fast though. Stanford wins this game 24-7.
Okay, Stanford.
But I don't know, man. Florida State. I feel like this is a team that is like better. I feel like that they should be better than what we have seen. But they've been playing against 2 tough teams. Yes, UNC. They aren't the CS4 UNC, but UNC overall wise has actually not a bad team. It's just Drake May isn't up there. But I don't know, something after winning against USC, I feel like this Stanford team almost feels like they have something to play for now, because the Pac-12 is wide. Oh, it's to me wide open now because they're all 1-1 except for Arizona State and Washington. So, I have I think the Stanford Cardinal. I think they win this game.
All right. Next game we have South Carolina versus Baylor. I got Baylor here getting it done here at home by 6 or more points.
I was kind of shocked that the spread for this game wasn't bigger, though.
Another thing, I guess for reasoning, I could give some reasoning as to why I put spreads as the way they are. I do feel like, one of the things you brought up, Baylor is a team. They got a lot of talent, but they struggle with keeping a lead or
that lead
throughout the game. So I feel like in South Carolina, even though they got blown out by,
but they had a offensive firepower.
Remember that
2 weeks ago
actually were pretty good. They were good against North Carolina, and in the first couple drives against Georgia, even if they get the right play calls going, this could be a tough team. And of course, I don't expect them to beat Baylor, but I do expect that they can keep this close. So I think that if they win by 6 or more points, that's kind of how I'll go by the spreads. I feel like, what should this team, or how do I feel this team will beat them? Will they beat them by more than a field goal? Will they beat them by more touchdown? If they don't beat them by more than a touchdown, then how much less of a touchdown? That's how I come up with the spreads. And so I kind of feel like that 6-point range is perfect enough when deciding this, because it's kind of that gray area. So I like choosing gray areas,
especially with what we have seen just like the last 2 weeks, where Baylor for 3 quarters is great, but something in that fourth quarter, this team is not going right, and that's the one quarter that you shouldn't be having those issues. And I actually think they put it together for all 4 quarters in this game. I think Baylor does cover this. I think this is the week where we finally see Baylor put it all together for 4 quarters and win this game. I think they win this game by 2 scores or more, if I'm being honest.
All right, next up we got undefeated Maryland taking on Texas. Maryland is 2-0, ranked 8th. I know some guys are probably like, wow, wasn't expecting that, but Maryland here on the road going to be taking on Texas. I got Texas,
but not the favorite.
5 or more points in this matchup.
And I agree with you there, Smitty. I actually agree with you there. Maryland, It's been a great run, 2-0, but I think it's coming to an end. I think this is definitely going to be the toughest team that they have faced the whole entire year. They have played each other in the past. Back in CS3, Texas won this game 29-9 a team. And I know any Maryland fans or any Texas fans, they know about the real life Maryland and Texas meme. I don't think it's going to fall that way here in the college series. I think Texas wins this game comfortably. And I think Maryland's 2-0 now becomes 2-1 because I think this Texas team is definitely the best team that that Maryland is going to have to play by far out of these next three, from these first three games. And, they almost lost to West Virginia, but this is CS5 Mountaineers, not the CS4 Mountaineers. Yeah. If they go down big time to Texas, I don't see them pulling back just like we saw them do a week ago. So I have Texas winning this game by 3 or more, to be honest, about 3 or more possessions.
And we got an ACC matchup here, 4 o'clock, North Carolina versus Clemson. I got Clemson winning by 6 or more points here. Here at home, this is always a pretty good game in the RFL College Series, to be honest, because I think they had a really good game last time they met last year in the regular season.
This was the upset a year ago. This is where the famous flame photo of him, do you remember which photo I'm talking about with Flame?
I knew it had something to do with Flame, but I just can't remember what it was. I was
where he's like
he was hyping this game.
He's like standing on top of I can't remember if that was Cam Johnson or which safety was it? Who was that for UNC? What was his name? Why am I drawing a blank?
UNC was Cam Johnson at the time.
No, it was the other guy, the strong safety. Who was that? You know who I'm talking about. I know, and I can't remember his name. Hold on, let me look at chat. Someone in chat.
Brother.
Didn't we all think that was Cordell Brown, right?
Cordell Brown. Yeah, that's who it was.
So Clemson got the upset win against them a year ago. UNC, they dominated them in CS3, 35-13. So the home field hasn't really worked for both games, except it will work in this game. If we saw Dylan Lewis have the game that he did against this Clemson defense, what do we think Drake May is going to be like against this team? I think Clemson wins this game like 31-17. I think Drake May is probably going to throw a few picks. He already threw 3 picks in the first week game against South Carolina. He also threw a couple of picks against FSU as well. So this is another cornerback that is prone, that we have now seen through 2 weeks, who's prone to turning the ball over. And we've seen this Clemson team likes forcing turnovers. So, I got Clemson winning this game, man.
All right, in our main event game of Saturday, Ohio State versus Notre Dame, I've got the Buckeyes bouncing back here by 4 or more points in South Bend.
So I'm not going to pick this game because we all know who I'm going to pick. CS1, Ohio State, they won 27-22. CS2, Smitty, I had to do this. So I found a way to finally go back and look at all of the scores from the games that I can't find from CS2.
They should be on that League Lobster thing.
From CS2?
Yeah, I have the same way you can see that on there. They have
if you can send me the CS2 one, because guess what I did, Smitty? I went to the Instagram page and I scrolled and I scrolled and I scrolled, and I wasn't even trying to find the Ohio State and Notre Dame game. I was trying to find the CS2 Georgia and LSU score because I was needing the score for that. And I was like, oh, Ohio State and Notre Dame did play each other. Yeah, so I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and then I found out that in CS2, Ohio State won 44-24. And then, of course, as we know, last year, CS4, this was the first game of the year after the Georgia and Oregon game. Ohio State won that game 28-14. 14. So Notre Dame, they have never been Ohio State. This is the first time that Ohio State is going into South Bend since CS1. I expect this to be a close game, but this is one of those games that I kind of want to see. How does Isaiah Neal play against this Ohio State defense after we saw what the Clemson running back was able to do? That's my key matchup of the week for this game.
All right. Next up, we have Auburn versus Iowa. I think Auburn comes back and gets the first win. They had those first two meetings in the SEC. Fell short, of course, of more dominant SEC teams. Iowa, for guys, of course, who don't know the rest of the rankings, this is team number 32.
Is this is this 31 and 32
so
or no? Wait, no. Who's
Auburn isn't ranked either. They're 27.
Who's 31?
West Virginia.
West Virginia. Yeah. I should have made that a game. But Iowa, yeah, this is literally 30. They have I mean, you know what, Iowa, man, just because you're in the Big Ten, let's go Iowa, man. Come on, guys. Show me some fight. Do it for Tyler, man. He is in those chats watching those games, and he has to sit there for 4 quarters and watch this Iowa team, man. Do it for him. Do it for him. I want to see Iowa win. But in all honesty, I think Auburn's going to win this game. I don't expect it to be close. But I'm rooting for you, I'm rooting for you, except for 1 week. There's 1 week where I won't be rooting for you guys. But this week, come on, Iowa. Show me some fight. Because this is a game where you can pull it out. So
next, we have Louisville versus West Virginia. Louisville expected to win by 6 or more points here. Yeah. So what you think about that? You think Louisville?
By the way, these are both games that we've never seen these teams play each other in the college series. We've never seen Iowa and Auburn play, and we've never seen Louisville and West Virginia play. Hey, Louisville, you got your book, and I'm going with you guys. But I wouldn't be shocked if they lay an egg here, though. I wouldn't be shocked. I think West Virginia has a fighting chance. Something about this Louisville team, after watching the Penn State game, is almost like, you know what? This Louisville team may have some issues, but I think that Penn State team is just so much better. But I do have Louisville winning this game by 7. So,
all right. Next,
give Washington the ball. Give Washington the ball.
Next is Oklahoma State versus Arizona State. And I got Arizona State here getting their first win of the season at home by 3.
So I kind of want to know why here, Spenny. Why Arizona State?
Well, they finished their custom playbook. Oklahoma State, even though they've won and been a little bit more competitive in times past, I still feel like what I saw from Arizona State in that game against
especially
Baylor,
for the way Baylor
if they play like that, then I think they definitely can beat Oklahoma State. But that's why I have it close, because it can still go either way. But I do feel like if Arizona State just has a slight edge with a few of those submitted prospects, to the point where I think they can at least win this game by a field goal or more.
Do you know who would have loved to been on this Oklahoma State team, Smitty? That Roper guy from 2 years ago. Do you remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Matt
Roper.
Matt Roper.
Nice.
Yep. But that team was not good. But in CS3, they ended up beating Arizona State 38-0. I don't expect the score to be that big, but I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma State in this game.
Okay.
I think Arizona State falls to 0-3 here, Smitty, which I know is not the start that they want. I am starting to see that they are showing fight, but I think Oklahoma State is better. I think they are just a better team this year.
Yeah. And 4 p.m. Eastern, we have, our last 4 games. Penn State, number 6, taking on number 17, TCU. Just saw them come off a big upset win over Tennessee. And they got the home field advantage here. But I feel like this Penn State team, even though I do feel like this TCU team is still pretty solid. I don't think teams should sleep on them. I think this Penn State team is
No,
really good. So I do think that they'll beat them by at least more than a field goal within this game.
this was Smitty. This is probably, besides, of course, the last two games, I would say this was like, actually, yeah, this was the fourth hardest game for me to really pick a winner, because I'm like, I think this TCU team is better than what we all saw in week one. I think they just ran into Ohio State, and that's just how it went. But, from what we saw from them playing against Tennessee, I think this is a really good TCU team. Even saying that, though, I'm actually going to go with Penn State, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Horned Frogs pull it out. Also, another game we have never seen these guys play, so another first-time matchup in the college series. So I have the Nittany Lions winning this.
All right. And then we have for the last premier game of the week, Wisconsin versus Oregon. I have Oregon winning by more than a field goal. More than a field goal here in this one with the home field advantage. I know it's been looking rough, and Wisconsin's a better base team, but I do feel like at some point Ronnie's going to get it together. This should be the week.
This should be the week. This is the week that I think we're expecting that Oregon team that we saw the fight in them against the Georgia Bulldogs. And last week, they were just off. Even though they got the win, something felt off with Ronnie. And I feel like maybe it's the hype that is just kind of like he did come into this year with a lot of hype and everything. And Oregon, man, this is a game that I'm expecting you, just like with the Baylor Bears, where I think you guys got to put it together all four quarters against the Gamecocks. This is a game that I think Oregon will put it together for all four quarters against the Badgers, and I think Oregon wins this game.
All right, our last two matchups, man, some big games. Of course, these had to be later in the week. Michigan, number 5, taking on number 3,
Number
Alabama.
3.
So this is like top 5 matchup. The last game of the season, a top 5 matchup as well. But for the Michigan-Alabama game, I've got Bama winning by 4 or more points at home.
I think this game has potential to steal the show for the whole entire week. I know a lot of guys have their eyes matchup, but I think this game is going to be a lot better. Roll Tide rolled, man. I don't think I have to explain why. But I do have to give credit where it's due. They are looking like a great team. And this is not the Briley era anymore. They have some pretty good players on that team. I will say, give the ball to Cheeseboro a lot, because sometimes in that Fighting Irish game, man, it's like Cade is looking like he's about to fumble any time now, because I think he ran the ball like 15 times in that game.
Yeah. 14 times, had 2 touchdowns, though, but he was getting smacked around a little bit.
He was getting smacked, and it's just one of those things that I think this is going to be a really good game. I do have Bama winning this game, and this is a possible playoff type. I mean, this is going to feel like a playoff type of game, in my opinion, and I'm excited to watch this game. I do have Alabama winning, but I wouldn't be shocked if it goes the other way.
And the final game, the main event of the week, number 4 LSU. Now, they talk about a playoff game. This is a playoff game when the number 1 team plays the number 4 team. But number 4 LSU versus number 1 Georgia. This is going to be a great game, I think. I think LSU is better than what a lot of people think. And I got Georgia, though, still coming out on top of this one, because there's a reason why they're the number 1 dogs right now by 4 or more points. I do feel like this game could be very close, though.
So to give you guys some interesting history, CS1, as we know, that LSU team was really, really good. They went to the playoffs. They went to the playoffs. They beat Georgia 45-14. The last 3 years, dogs. They have won it the last 3 years. Actually, in CS3 and CS4, all LSU has been able to do is score 10 points. And Aiden Seminole last year had a very rough game against, not one of the greatest Bulldogs defenses defenses. LSU, man, and I kind of want to talk more about this game because LSU, like we haven't talked about them a whole bunch, but they're chirpy, man. Like they've been chirp,
talking. Kind of got mad.
They've been talking
about their stats against Iowa, but it's just like it was.
But
Iowa.
It's like what else? It was Iowa, right? Hey. He had a great game, Aiden. You did what we were wanting you guys to do, and you came out there and you threw 400 yards against the 32 ranked team in the college series. But you're not playing Iowa or Florida State this week. This is the Georgia Bulldogs, CS2 national champs. Yes, they haven't been the same team for the last 2 years, but this Bulldogs team, man, there's a different swagger. There's a different energy about this team. Jaden Young, in my opinion, man, for the first 2 weeks is QB1. But LSU, they've been talking this whole entire week like no one is gonna pick us, man. Everyone is sleeping on us. Well, LSU, this is your chance, man. This is your chance, right?
Make a statement.
But if it goes bad, which I wouldn't be shocked if this game gets out of hand, man. Like it has that feeling where it can get out of hand really fast if a team starts to make too many mistakes. But I do agree with you. I do think this LSU team is a lot better, but I have Georgia winning this game as well. But, LSU, if you want us to talk about you guys a lot more, especially with how your CS3 and your CS4 is gone. Yes, you ended CS4 on a great high note by beating the Baylor Bears and that bowl where you blew them out. But, for you guys to be looked at with Georgia and Bama, this is the game. And you get it right here in week 3 on Monday night, game of the week. Show us something. Even if you guys lose, I still don't think that that's going to knock LSU down as like, oh, you guys can't compete, even if they lose. But I do want to see LSU fight. And if they win, then maybe we have to talk about this LSU team a lot more than we do with the Bulldogs, man. But I still think Georgia's going to win this game pretty comfortably, in my honest opinion. So.
All right. So that is it for the week 3 schedule prediction, guys. And that is it for the podcast topics. With that being said, we do have open questions that we can take for if anybody's got any questions that you want to ask us right now. We can have a max of 16 minutes on here because that ends us at the 2-hour mark at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time right now. So if you got any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. If there aren't any, then we'll just go ahead and wrap it up early and be out of you guys here. Appreciate you guys that have been here. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the Relocation Football League if you are new and interested in joining in the future. Turn on that notification bell to be notified every time we go live for a game and a podcast that we have like this every Wednesday. So we'll go ahead and leave it up to the chat, see what's going on. So this is a good week, said JoJo Carter. After a week,
I do have to ask, what is your out of the premier games? Well, you probably can't speak too much on them, but what game are you looking forward to in those premier windows?
Kind of want to see what that Penn State TCU game, pretty interesting. I want to see how good Penn State is in there. Same deal kind of with Louisville. I feel like Louisville, I'm not putting them in no means in no playoff category, but I do feel like these guys can definitely be a good bowl team, and I think that they should be able to control that West Virginia game. Another one is North Carolina and Clemson, because I know we just saw Clemson just come off of that win against, you guys.
Against us.
One team, and I'm expecting to look just as good, if not better, in that game at home against the conference rival. Then the same deal with North Carolina a little bit, though, because with North Carolina, these guys, 1-1, but they put up a good fight with South Carolina. They lost only by 7. They were able to still handle Florida enough, 24-7. And, this with this being a conference game, I just want to see a good battle between them. And the last one, for real, well, it's a lot of these games, man. Baylor, I want to see them
There's a
dominate.
lot of good games on this slate.
Yeah, Maryland, I want to see how they fare against Texas because, a lot of teams writing this team off. That's my favorite college. Them and UNC is my favorite colleges in real life. But, we know what the talent level is. But Texas can be, we don't know yet either, So it's going to be an interesting week.
It's still very early in the year. Like, you could still make out some things, but it still feels like we're still too early in the year to make like bold assumptions on this is how it's going to go the rest of the year. Because if there's anything we've learned from the college series, anything can happen. And this is why I was telling folks, because folks were telling me with Ohio State this past week, and I don't know if y'all are winning. Well, if I remember last year, we scored 2 points, and all we heard was we're not beating Miami. So anything can still happen.
Yeah, it says after a week and teams have the same records, how do you determine who goes up? Depends on who I feel is the better team. If it's a head-to-head and y'all haven't played anybody else, if you lost to that team, they're going to be ahead of you. But if it's multiple matchups where you beat them, but they beat the team that you lost, to, then at that point I get to choose. Like, I have to decide between all of you, like who I feel is better in what order.
Do you feel like strength of schedule also comes into play? Because I do think there is like a thing of like
strength of schedule not necessarily, because it's kind of the same deal with LSU, right? If you look at their strength of schedule right now to beat the number 4 team, a lot of teams will be like, nah, they shouldn't be there. But realistically, if you look at the play of what LSU is capable of doing, they should be a team considered in the top. They just haven't played anybody just yet. So I'm looking at the fact of like, this is a team. Maybe they don't have the best of talent that they've played yet, but I know when they do play good talent, they're still going to be able to rock because of how they're winning, So I look at all the factors when I determine that.
And that's a thing that I feel like a lot of folks kind of forget. It's one thing if you're not playing the best teams and you're maybe scraping by wins. Mm-hmm. But if you're playing those bad teams and you're going in there blowing them out, that's what we expect you to do. And that's why it's like I do agree. LSU hasn't really played anybody, but the way that they've been winning has been impressive.
Yeah. So here's a question here from Pat. It says, Smitty, when are the new RFL coaching candidates getting their interviews? There hasn't been anybody who's applied from what I've seen. I haven't even promoted that yet because I've just been so busy with the college series. So they're from what I've seen from the website, applications are up there. Guys got to read through that because of course it's not free. You got to be able to pay the $50 per month, and be able to be on your game when you get in, man, and know the league and stuff like that. I haven't had a new coach apply yet, so and the main reason, like I said, I don't think a lot of guys know, and it hasn't been promoted yet as well. So nobody yet right now. He said Pat must be trying to become a coach. It says Monday finna be a breeze. Says Peyton. Okay, LSU getting chippy talking. Said what's good, RFL. David Leathers.
Let me just say, LSU, it's okay. And this is the other thing with the Baylor Bears. It's okay to talk. Like, you guys can talk. But when you lose like that, if you lose badly, it can come back and bite you back really hard.
Got a question. That's all I'm going to say. Steven Fisher says, do you guys ever do segments reviewing top players in different positions? Unfortunately, due to how long these 3 main topics of the college series podcast takes in itself, we do not go into that. Where you would get that analysis is mainly as we're reviewing games, as we're talking about guys. Another thing is, some guys can have their own little podcasts on the side, talk about whatever. But you're definitely not going to get that from me because I'm the guy who's going to come up
because you have to do all the players. Yeah.
You'll get that information when the draft comes. And
I can tell you guys throughout the year, and I can kind of telling you guys throughout the year, feeling about certain players or like things, and I'll fill you guys in on who I think is what in this. But still, only 2 weeks have played. I have said some things about Jane and Young, but it's still very early to kind of make a base on who is where. And the one position that I'm not going to do it yet is the tight end spot, because there's 20 of them that I would have to rank. So
I seen somebody asking about who is number one. The number one team
Georgia.
ended up being Georgia right now. I see you guys in the chat with that. It says Bama number 3 or 2. Yep, they're 3. So somebody getting filled in. Aiden says we'll see Monday. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. We got some great live games, man. Some great live games.
We got some great premier games too. Like when I just looked back at it, I mean, you have Maryland who's still trying to stay, get to 3-0. Louisville trying to get back in the win column. There's, even though some of those other games look better, there's still some interesting storylines that we are starting to see unravel here in the college series, and I'm just excited to see how this week is going to go.
Yeah, David Love says good lineup of games. Yeah, these primetime games, I love the games I'm calling for this week as well. Like, is that USC after that loss, really want to see how they bounce back against Oklahoma, who we know is not going to be.
And it's a playoff, it's a former playoff game, which I think has some prestige to it,
Yeah, and then Tennessee and Florida, just once again, trying to see how Tyon and the Tennessee Volunteers bounce back. Then we have Ohio State just getting upset this past week. Notre Dame, we know
not only that's
pretty good. So
we bring in viewers, Eddie. I don't know if you've noticed this, but we bring in viewers.
Yeah, y'all got views. Main. We already know what teams really bring in views. Off the alumni, of course, Ohio State, Miami, Baylor. I thought there was another team.
But Bama does really well in views, and so does Georgia.
Georgia definitely too.
Georgia brings in really good viewers. Yes.
Yeah, so that top 2 teams would have to probably be Miami and Georgia. That brings in the most, because there's dudes, like, even the premier game is stacked up to like 30, 40 people live watching those games. Palm trees going all.
It's all alumni at Baylor.
Gassing those games up, and I love it. That's how it should be. And then of course this Michigan and Alabama game I think is going to be fire, man.
Which they have a lot of good fan bases. Yeah.
I can't wait to call these games for real.
And just like you said, it's practically like a playoff game. To answer,
what you about to answer?
I was telling Master TJ, it's going to be on Sunday night. That is when that game is going to be.
Okay, yeah, and as for I got another question I'm going to go to in the back there from Finn Fowler, but Rodney Goin says, "Are you excited about NCAA 24?" Definitely. And he says, "What do you have planned?" It's going to be very different. Just to talk a little bit, because I've done this in the past to talk about the college series on how it's going to change. You guys were able to pay for attributes, but now since we'll have access to all the colleges and a whole lot of stuff like that, the payments will be different. You're not going to be creating your player right on the spot. Like, what I would do is just like, I'll let you create, like, it'll be a form. Probably it's going to be about your build on what you want to create, but then it's really going to be first come, first serve now, because what's going to happen as soon as that game drops, I'm going to go live whenever, I'm planning on starting the season, and I'm going to sim in the future to where the generic players and what the rosters are going to be. From that point, then I'm going to go in order of who applied to be a part of the college series to choose what player they want to control and be built over. All right, so once you're built over that player, though, I don't give you an attribute advantage like how you had in the college series, because it was different. You have to take over from that player from there. So that puts more emphasis on you being able to, have to use your reloads, and of course, in-game boosts or whatever happens within there. On top of that, your college series, what's it called? Oh, I forgot. I was going somewhere. It is important. Hopefully, I get it back.
Is it about the draft, or is it more like
about the draft? The draft will be a whole different process, though. I'm glad you bring that up, guys. there will be a set point where you have to tell me if you want to enter the draft or not in order for me to change you to make sure that you don't get the class, because I do not have control over who will be selected into the draft from here on out. So it's going to pull whoever was balling. That's who's going to be entered into the draft, and you got to tell me if you want to enter it or not. And so, yeah, you will get pulled by that draft class. And if you're pulled in there, they're going to be doing the ratings. All I'm going to be doing is management control to make sure that the ratings aren't crazy coming in, like some dude coming in with like a 99, attribute that they shouldn't have as a rookie. I'm going to tone that down. Stuff like that. But the overalls will be drastically different, man. I feel like our ratings aren't top heavy like ever since the inflation era has been over, and we've been doing it more realistic, and I've been doing it more realistic when it comes to like the ratings and the positions coming in as rookies. I feel like we're still a little bit top heavy. You have more better ratings in later rounds, but next year I feel like you are going to have some players that are going to be higher rated if they're that good, but it's going to start dying after like the second, third round. Dudes going to be low. I'm talking about 60, 50 overalls, stuff like that, man. It's going to get real.
The other thing that I will answer, I can't explain to Maddie how the reload process works, but the RFL isn't exactly pay to win. I wouldn't call it that. It's not pay to win.
It don't mean you're going to be good.
It don't mean,
and
right.
Not only that, you still have to, like, you could be one of the best players in the country. They give you your rating coming in, and it might not even be good. So it's like all you could do with that, and on top of that, the only pay that you're getting, like, say for instance, when you take over a higher rated player, you have to play more because you're taking over for a great player to begin with. Everyone's going to pay a base fee, and I forgot what I had. I put it in the chat some time ago, where I was just like, the lowest that you can be paying is 15, obviously what it is now, and then that's like a 70 or below coming in, and you got to be able to work your way up the rest. Then you got 80s and below, and then 90s. If you're going to be the 90s, that's the highest priced players that you have to pay for, and you could pay for that, but once again, just because you have that rating, it
doesn't mean you're going to do great.
You still not even be selected. You can still be a free
That's
agent.
why you gotta get them screenshots. You gotta get them screenshots, man. You gotta get them screenshots. Question, I don't know if I can answer this correctly for Payne. So will I lose my attributes that I have now if I stay in a college another year? I probably butchered that. No, I think you guys get grandfathered in.
Yeah, if you are returning after this year, you're going to have the exact same ratings that you had in the college series, at least the ones that can transfer over that are the same in that new NCAA game, right? So you will have that. And
you will still have all your attributes.
And because you were a part of that class, you only will have to pay the base fee, so $15. So you don't have to pay for a higher overall. But the thing that will be tough is if you're not that good of a rating, and that we fast forward and they got generics and stuff better than you, dude might have to get up out of there. So
this is where the college experience comes in.
Yeah, at the same time, it might not be bad because you will be replaced over the starter. So if your overall maybe wasn't better than that starter and you're replacing them, and the other guys are lower, you're still going to be probably higher. So the likelihood of you not being better than the rest of them is still low. So it's a low chance that you might have to transfer. And another thing I want to clear up is, guys, we're talking about the transfer. Yes,
this is another thing we need to talk about.
You can only transfer once, but that's only once you start. So guys, yeah, you made transfers once you came into the college series, but if that was the first team you officially played for, it does not count as a transfer. That's what you came in as, right? So you may have applied first to go to my Maryland or whatever. Things ain't turn out. You decide to transfer, go to Baylor. So you go to Baylor your first season. With that being your first season, that does not count. If you transfer again after that, that's where
that sure counts.
Yeah,
yes,
that counts. So if you transferred period from your original school and played there, then you can't transfer anymore.
And this is where, guys, when the new college game comes out, it might, because like a lot of these folks think that they're going to have the Joe Burrow, Justin Fields success story of transferring. Just letting you guys know, those two guys are mainly anomalies in real life. Most of the guys who transfer in real life don't exactly go on and go off like Fields and Burrow did.
Yeah, we got
So
USR in the building. What's going on, Uncle Sam? Appreciate you coming through, says Ray Franklin Jr. Yeah, we already got Ray in the league, right? Was he a junior? Because only one player allowed per person, my guy. But you dudes killing it with the Condors, I'll tell you that. Finally got a career interception on the sheet. You know, he went crazy in the playoffs, got those 3 picks against the T-Birds a few years back. But yeah, shout out to
unfortunately that score didn't work out so well for them.
T-Birds was looking crazy. But
I'm good, Smitty. I think I'm good unless you still want to answer some more.
Yeah, I think we're good here. If you got any more questions, make sure to hit us up in the Discord. I'll probably hop in there for a little bit since I ain't got nothing going on. Probably gonna record a premiere game, call it a night. But that being said, that's it for episode 3 of the RFL College Series podcast. We'll be back here on Wednesday for episode 4 to recap week 3 and the whole 9, new top 25, all that. But until next time, it's your boy Smitty, RFO commissioner and play-by-play commentator, along with Pecan with the dad hat. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
The Irish hat.